आदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पश्चात्यादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधारा शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to our morning glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam. We are reading from Canto 10, Chapter 10, Deliverance of Yamala-arjuna tree. And today we will discuss verse 26 and 27, and Krishna willing, if time permits, verse 28. Prabhu, can we please have verse 26 on the screen? Okay, there it is. Thank you. Verse 10.10.26. Iti yante ranaya arjunyo krishnastu yamayoreyo atma nirveshamatrena tiryagatam ulukhalam. Ityante ranaya arjunyo krishnastu mamayoreyo Atma nirveshamatrena tiryagatam ulukhalam iti yantrenya arjunyo krishnastu yamayoryayo atma nirveshamatrena tiryagatam ulukhalam. Synonyms: iti, thus deciding, antarena, between, Arjuna Yuhu, the two Arjuna trees, Krishnastu, Lord Krishna, Yamayohu Yayu, entered between the two trees, Atma Nirvesha Matrena, as soon as he entered between the two trees, Tiryak, crossways, Gatam, so became, Ulukhalam, big mortar for grinding spices. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Having thus spoken, Krishna soon entered between the two Arjuna trees, and thus the big mortar which he was bound turned crosswise and stuck between them. Can we go to next verse as well, Prabhu? Thank you. Balena nishkarayatan valgulukhalam tad damodarena taraso kalitangribandho nishpetatu paramavikrama pitati vepa skandha pravala vitapo kritachanda shabdo balena nishkarayatam valgulukhalam tad damodarena tarasotkalitaangribandho nishpetatu vikramamita skandha pravala vitapo kritachanda shabdo. Synonyms: Balena, by the boy Krishna, Nishkashayata, who was dragging, Anvak, following the dragging Krishna, Ulukalam, the wooden grinding mortar, Tat, that, Dama Udarena, by Krishna who was tied by the belly, Tarasha, with great force, Utkreta, uprooted, Angri Bandhu, the root of the trees, Nishpe Tatuhu, fell down, Parama Vikramita, by the supreme power, Ativepa, trembling severely, Skandha, trunk, Praval, bunches of leaves, Vitapo, those two trees along with their branches, Krita, having made, Chanda Shabd, a fierce sound. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. By dragging behind him with great force the wooden grinding motor tied to his belly, the boy Krishna uprooted two trees. By the great strength, the Supreme Person, the two trees, with the trunks, the leaves, branches, trembled severely and fell to the ground with a great crash. Would anyone like to read the puppet? It's a small puppet.
And read Harekrishna.
Sure, Mataji.
This is the pastime of Krishna known as Damodar Leela. Therefore, another of Krishna's name is Damodar, as stated in the Harivamsa. Sacha Tanvel Nara yes, wait. Na, Namna tu Krishno Vaidama Bandhanat Goste Damodar Re iti Gopi Bihi Parigiyate.
Thank you,
Is there
Mataji. Yeah,
okay?
that's it, Mataji. Thank you.
Okay.
So we are in the Damodar pastime where now Krishna is bound with the rope and he's bound with the rope. That we have heard the backstory of Yamala-arjuna tree who were Nalkuvara and Manikriva in the previous life, and now Krishna on his move to deliver these trees. So in verse 25, the verse 25 was actually spoken by Lord Krishna, but the verse describes the thoughts of Krishna. And the gist of that verse is that when Krishna's superlative devotee, like superlative, the word used in that verse was Priyatam, the more Priyatama. So Priya, Priyatara, and Priyatama. So Tama represents the superlative comparison in the degrees. So when Krishna's superlative devotee, like Narad Muni, when he commits him in some way, then Krishna says that I'm a puppet on their will. And then Narad Muni, as Narad Muni has promised Nalkuvara and Manikriva that the Lord would free from the curse. So Krishna being duty bound, and this is again, displaying Krishna's quality of Abhritya Vashyata, which we discussed in chapter 19 when Krishna got bound by Mother Yashoda. Here also Krishna duty bound by his devotees. So Krishna being duty bound to keep the promise that his devotee made, he would act according to Narada's will. And the book Damodar Journey that I have mentioned in my previous classes, so they actually it gives another point to this pastime, that further more to this, Krishna also thinks that that now Nalakuvara and Manikriva, they are purified of the offenses that they have committed. Now, in the previous verses, we have heard that Yamala-arjuna tree, when they got cursed, Narad Muni gave the curse, gave them a tree's body, but they remained their demigod consciousness, though they were in the tree body. Because when we consider a tree are not fully conscious as a human being. But here, because of the grace of Narad Muni, though they were in the tree body, they were fully conscious. Now, imagine someone who is fully conscious in the form of a body, not being able to move, just stand in all the severities of the weather. And that is not for a short period of time, 100 celestial years. So it was a big austerity on their part. And Krishna sees that. So Krishna thinks that they have performed the austerities, they are now purified, and now that devotion is blossoming. So it is now they should they should also gain fruit of their austerity. So with that intention, Krishna moves forward towards the trees, and then verse 26, 27, and 28 describe Krishna's activities while moving towards the tree and once he reaches towards the tree. So in this verse, in the entire Damodar Leela pretty much, and in these verses as well, we hear these words rope and mortar, ulukal, quite frequently. Now, if we think of a practical life or a routine life, rope and ulukal are very insignificant thing. Rope probably we use quite often we use it in our daily lives, but we don't seem to pay that much attention. And what to speak about ulukal even not seen in present days. I remember seeing my grandmother using it to grind the spices, but these days I think ulukals are replaced with blender. So but since we have started talking about Damodar Lila, every class that we discuss or every class that we have heard, there has been discussion about, or there has been mention about rope and mortar. So what does that mean? That by coming in contact with Krishna, both by coming in contact with Krishna, anything that is insignificant, that is also glorified. Again, coming back to Damodar Janani, Sri Ram Swami describes that, by coming in contact with Krishna, both actually rope and mortar, they assume their spiritual form. And we have heard in these pastimes many times that in Krishna's pastime, everything is alive. So here the rope and mortar, they have also become alive. And they desired to act according to their will. And their will is what? Their will is to serve Krishna. So, and Srila Jiva Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami, I think it is described in other scriptures also, that they being the part of Krishna's divine entourage or assistant, as they came into contact with Krishna, they gained the spiritual nature. In the last verse of damodarashtakam, Satyavrata Muni says that, I offer, first of all, O Lord, I first of all offer my obeisances to the brilliantly effulgent rope which binds your belly. When someone is offering an obeisances to a rope, that also indicates that they were spiritual being. So the lesson is that anything that comes in contact with Krishna, they are automatically glorified. So then, how do we understand it practically? Applying this to our life, all of us, in some way or another, we will like to be, glorified or appreciated or known. But most commonly, that the sense or the desire of a glorification is actually based on our sense of self-worth. So on a material platform, probably, as we have heard in the previous verses, could be based on Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, and Shribi, name, fame, wealth, beauty, knowledge, etc. And because Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, Shribi, they are all attached with the body. So the fame or the recognition or the appreciation that comes with it, that is also temporary, attached to the body only. And sometimes it will not last as long as the body lasts, because the world is such that things change. It can up and down. In present life, one may lose the fame. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that, everything that seems attractive, or everything so what Krishna says, everything attractive which is manifested are spark of my splendor. So that means that whatever glory that anyone has, that is also glory of Krishna. So how do we apply that? So whatever way we want to be glorified. It could be our talent, it could be our wealth, it could be our knowledge. If we can meditate that it comes from Krishna, and instead of seeing those talents as a means to acquire our friend, we can see them as a means to serve Krishna, then the true purpose of that talent, or the true purpose of that Aishwarya is satisfied. At the same time, the true purpose of glory is also understood. And then Krishna, also being pleased with our devotional disposition, he will also reveal in our heart that whatever glory that we try to hanker, or we try to look for, is actually temporary glory, and it is more glorious to be in connection with Krishna than endeavoring to try to be glorious in our own. Again, coming back to the example of Ulukal, then the trees were very big and very tall up to the sky. And Damodar describes that the roots of the tree, they were actually joined underground, and then the trees and the trunks again joined, and then from the top the branches were separated. So it was like forming an X like that. So where trees, the roots underground are joined, then there are that trunk joined from the middle, and the branches are again separated. So if we hear the description of a trees like that, and then a simple mortar in comparison to those trees does not appear that strong, but despite of looking simple mortar could actually uproot the big trees. So what does that mean? That though the mortar was not so strong or not so big, the mortar should break. Actually, the mortar should break instead of tree being uprooted. But because the mortar got strength from Krishna, because Krishna was touching the mortar got the ability to uproot them. So the lesson here is that somehow or other we should train ourselves to remember Krishna. And as long as we are remembering Krishna, we are serving Krishna, we are serving his devotees, we are empowered. And devotees are representative of Krishna. So we have seen many times that the devotee could actually undertake Herculean task. Now we take of an example of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is no insignificant devotee. He was, of course, an empowered devotee, but when he left India, he had nothing. He had a great desire to serve his guru, and then he was empowered. So when devotees of Krishna are empowered, they can actually undertake Herculean task which one can never imagine of. And devotees being aware of this situation, that whatever their abilities or whatever their power is because of their position as Krishna's servant, they are never puffed up, because they understand that all their abilities comes from Krishna. So in this relation, I was actually I was hearing a class, in this very nice example of Sri Haridas Thakur, who was mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Haridas Thakur, we all know he was a Namacharya, and he was in his final days. He was actually sorry, Haridas Thakur was a Namacharya. He was chanting the name of the Lord all day, every day, and it is mentioned that Mahaprabhu actually served Haridas Thakur with so much love. He used to send prasadam from Puri temple to Haridas Thakur. He planted a tree where Haridas Thakur used to chant. And in the final days, when Haridas Thakur found out that Lord Chaitanya is about to conclude their pastime on this mortal world, Haridas Thakur thinks that before I do not want to bear the separation of the Lord. So before Lord departs, I want to depart from this. I want to depart from this from this world. And then he started chanting like that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to know this, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Haridas Thakur that, why if you leave this world, then what I will do without you? The only happiness I find in this world is because of your association. And why do you want me to leave behind? And Haridas Thakur, in that response, in that question, he says to Mahaprabhu that, oh my Lord, why are you creating an illusion? I am most condemned, most fallen. I'm so insignificant, and you have so millions and millions of other devotees, with whom you can perform the pastime. And each of your devotees, actually, I put that dust on my head. So I'm so insignificant. So why are you creating this illusion for me? And this is so true. Supreme Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Krishna himself. So Krishna can perform pastime with anyone, can empower anyone. Here the intention is not to belittle Haridas Thakur's potency or his devotion. Here the intention is to show that Chaitanya, a God, has the potency and power to perform the pastime with anyone and anything he desires. So here in this pastime, when the Lord performed pastime with rope and a mortar, then, which in normal sense we have no significance, but that is Krishna's will. And Krishna can empower devotee or may not empower a devotee, whatever is best for the devotee, but devotee always wants to remain in connection with Krishna, in Krishna's service. And that was Haridas Thakur's mood, that he didn't want to bear the separation from Mahaprabhu, so he wanted to leave the world before Mahaprabhu leaves. And that's what the last verse of Shiksastakam says, that Asleshava Padarata Pinashtumam Asleshava Padaratam Pinashtumam Adarshana Marmahatam Karoduva Yatha Tathava Vidadhato Lampato Mataprananatha So Tusa Enavaparaha. That Lord, either you make me broken-hearted, or you embrace me. You will be always my worshipable Lord unconditionally. So regardless how the Lord desires to treat his devotee, Lord has ability to empower his devotees whenever required, but regardless how Lord treats his devotee, regardless Lord appears or disappears in front of his devotee, for devotee, the Lord remains always the worshipable Lord unconditionally. So the lesson that we derive is we should always make connection with Krishna, his devotees, and we should always serve them. Another point that Prabhupada made in the purport of verse 27, he quotes a verse from Harivamsha. The verse is that I'll just read it this way. So the verse is that Sachataneva namato Krishno vai damabandhanat Goshthe damodaraiti Gopibhi parigiyate. When I was preparing for the class, I haven't heard the scripture Harivamsha, so I was researching for that scripture, and I found from His Holiness Vishnu Goswami Maharajis that this scripture Harivamsha is actually an extension of Mahabharata and Vishnu Puran, and Damodar Lila is also described in these scriptures, but not the way it is described in Srimad Bhagavatam. I think these descriptions only explain the great power of the Lord uprooting the two trees. They don't describe the liberation of Nalakuvara and Manigriva, or even Mother Yashoda binding Lord Krishna. Only Bhagavad Puran has the sweetness aspect of Krishna, of this pastime. So the meaning of the verse is, and as it is mentioned in the purport, that because being bound with the rope Dam on the belly, Udara, in Braja, Krishna was called Damodar by the cowherd women, which are gopis. So according to Vedanta Sutra, it is mentioned that, one gets the result in the same way one worship the Lord. And we hear this in Bhagavad Gita 4.11 also, ye yathama prapadyante tam sateva pajamaham. That means Lord reciprocates to the devotee according to the devotee approaches to him, approaches to the Lord. And in that relation, it was on his Maharaj's website, it was further expanded that if one meditates the Lord on the abode of the opulence, then one becomes blessed with those opulence. If one meditates on the Lord as the destroyer of the evil forces, then one's enemies are destroyed. If the one worship Lord as the most famous, then the one gets the reputation. So, however, in this pastime is actually full of contradictions, and we have heard over various classes of different contradiction. Here the contradiction is that, so when we observe Lord appearances and activities, the contradiction is that by understanding Lord's many births, janma karma cha me divyam, we become free from repeated birth and death. So the principle is that till now the Lord was giving whatever one was meditating. Here, if the one meditates on Leela and activities and birth, then God actually frees, Krishna frees them from repeated birth and death. And by understanding the pastime, when Lord is bound by Mother Yashoda to the mortar, actually it is mentioned that our bondage in this world, in this three world, is we get freed from this bondage of this world. By hearing the pastime of Lord stealing butter, our tendency to grab other things is removed. By hearing about Lord's amorous pastime with the gopis in a proper mood and of course in a proper source, then our lusty desires are purified. And that is mentioned in Venu Gita as well, where gopis praise that please Krishna, put your feet on our breast so that our lusty desire get satisfied, get purified. And by hearing about the Lord's running away in the fear of Mother Yashoda, our fear of the material existence is removed. So basically, it shows that all the Leelas of the Lord are enacted for our pastime. And they are on a transcendental platform. We have heard this, and with Damodar Leela specifically, as that is full of contradiction. Here, another point that is mentioned in the Damodar, another point of a contradiction is that Krishna himself was bound on the belly, but he goes and he liberates Nalakuvara and Manigriva. So the Lord is bound himself, but he liberates his devotees. So that is another form of a contradiction. And there is a beautiful point that that Shivram Swami makes in Damodar Jani, just a couple of sentences that I would like to read. He says that to meet Krishna personally is very rare perfection, for which neither aristocratic birth nor an untold wealth qualifies one. But it becomes possible by the will of the pure devotee. And so by Narad's intervention, Nal Kovera and Manikrima became eligible to participate in Krishna's pastime and to receive his causeless mercy. It is inestimable power of the Supreme Lord that he is bounded as a sweetness, as his bounded sweetness as a child. This phenomenon is also seen earlier where no length of a rope was able to encompass his chubby girth. So Krishna's pastimes are full of sweetness, full of contradiction, and that actually develops the rasa. And at the same time, by the grace of our acharyas, they are full of lessons which we can apply in our practical lives. So if it is a 7:01, I would stop here. If any would like to make any corrections or comments or have anything to share, please feel free to unmute and share. Okay. We conclude our session here today. Granthar Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Krishna willing. We see you again tomorrow for our morning glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Harekrishna Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.